It's Monday and I'm working on some shipping, and I thought this was a perfect time for me to do another Chatty work with me. So today's topic is 10 reasons why reselling sucks. And so let's just jump right in. At the first 45 minutes, I'll be talking about that topic. The last 15 minutes of the video, I'll update you on some real estate stuff, camping stuff, just more personal stuff. And so let's get to work. I've got a timer here on my computer. So let's start it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. All right, so this video is inspired by a van lifer that I follow, and she did a video recently on 10 reasons why van life sucks, and she's a full-time van lifer. Now, I don't really consider myself a full-time or part-time anything. I'm just a reseller, but it is a large part of my week. It does bring in money to pay my bills, and I do make money doing other things as well. So yeah, but I've been doing this for almost 4 years. Yeah, almost 4 years. And while there are some pros to reselling, I think a lot of the things that I see and somewhat have contributed to is this image that reselling is great. You can make all this money, you can find all this amazing stuff, you can work from home, you don't have a boss, you can set your own schedule, all that jazz. And while there are some positives to it, I would say there's a lot more negatives out there, but it doesn't stop us from doing it. I just think it's important to know that reselling isn't pretty, reselling isn't easy, and yeah, it's not for everyone, point blank. So I really enjoyed watching her video because she was humble. She offered some humility when she was talking about things. And so I thought I would kind of do the same thing. First reason why reselling sucks is for me, and all of these are my opinion. You can have different opinions. Again, it depends on where you come from. For example, the first reason for me is no benefits. I came from a corporate job where I had lots of great benefits. Some of my jobs, I had unlimited vacation time, even though none of us took vacation. I had matching 401ks. I had stock options given to me. I had sick time. I had vacation time. I had health benefits. So many things. Free food, free coffee, like so many things at some of my jobs. And I also was paid well. So for me, not having benefits is a huge, huge issue. Now, for some people, it may be if you're married and you don't need health insurance, and maybe you didn't have a career job before, so you've never really needed or experienced the benefits like paid time off or vacation time, sick time, bereavement time, all of that kind of stuff. Maybe it doesn't matter to you, but for someone coming from a career job, going to self-employed as a reseller, and again, this is kind of speaking more on you take reselling as full-time or, you know, a big chunk of your time self-employed. I think that not having benefits not only costs a lot because you have to pay for those benefits on your own, but you also probably aren't the best at taking time off. When I had time off that was like I earned it, I would always take it. So if I earned 3 weeks a year, I would take that 3 weeks a year. Sick time, you get a certain amount of time each year. So if you're not feeling well, you could just take the day off. That type of stuff. When you're self-employed, for me personally, I just don't take time off. I mean, I kind of have to force myself. I have gotten into some hobbies like yoga and camping to kind of force myself to take time off, but it's not easy. And, you know, and you also don't get paid while you're not working, which I definitely miss. So another component of that is 401k matching. I have always had 401ks, which I'm thankful for, but when you're self-employed, you kind of have to set up that stuff on your own. And so I've had to manage my 401k, which I've never had to worry about because I always just had my, you know, what are they called? What are those people called that deal with all the benefits? I'll write it on the screen because I'm blanking on it. But the department at many companies. Anyways, why am I blanking on it? Probably because I haven't had them in so long. But they used to take care of all that stuff. You sign up for a new job, you fill out all this paperwork, it's all done. They take your taxes out, all of that stuff. It's great. And 401k matching has always been an incentive because if you're trying to save for retirement, having a company match what you put in, it's kind of free money. I mean, it's part of your package, your benefits package, but yeah, so while I do contribute to an IRA and I do try to work towards that on improving that, it's also really hard because it's not just automatically pulled out of a paycheck. So I really miss that. That is, human resources, that's the one. Oh my gosh. So human resources. I really miss having a human resources team because I don't like dealing with those nitty-gritty details of employment. And when you're self-employed, unfortunately, it's kind of on you to deal with that. I'm sure there are human resources apps and companies that if you're self-employed, you can hire. I haven't looked into it. It's also would be a cost, and I'm not sure it would be worth it. But yeah, that is definitely the biggest one for me. Number 2, this is a big one. Work is always at home. Now, an exception to this is maybe you have a storage space, maybe you send your inventory elsewhere, maybe you have an office or a warehouse. That is not the majority of resellers I know, and in fact, that's never been the type of reselling I've ever wanted. That would be torture for me to have a team in a warehouse, because then it's like I could just go work for Amazon, or I wouldn't want that on my own. But the majority of us, I think, have space in our homes that we do our shipping, that we do our photography, that we I don't know what else we do. Those are like the 2 big ones, where we store stuff. So having to work from home, while it's nice and convenient, it has downsides because I can never escape work. It's just like, if I'm not working, I'm out of the house. If I'm not out of the house, I'm home working. It's very hard for me to just sit at home and relax. Again, everyone's a little different, but this pays some of my bills, and it's important for me to continue doing that. I have goals. And so, I have to look at all of my time at home and go, how many hours am I really working? Which is a really hard thing for me to distinguish each day. Today, I woke up, I needed to get ready. I had a telehealth appointment that I had, and then I had to go outside of my house and film a real estate video. But the drive time, is that considered work time? Even though it is work time, but it's not reselling time, it's real estate time, but it's just getting to and from something. And then I film for a couple hours, and then I come home. Now I'm shipping, and I'm probably going to be working until, 9 p.m. at the earliest, because I did have a late start to the day. And it's one of those things that it's like, I've done dishes, I've cooked food. So what is my work day really like? It's just kind of this blended mess because I'm at home. Whereas if you go to an office, you typically are like, I need to be there at 9 a.m. for a meeting, and my last meeting of the day ends at 6 p.m. So you kind of have like a 9 to 6, or something to that effect. Or maybe you don't even have a salary job and you work hour by hour and you just know your schedule, like I'm working a 6-hour day today or whatever. But you kind of go to work and you just are there. Now, I think a lot of people like work from home because you can cut down on the commute time. You can have a little more flexibility, eating in, which is a little healthier, saving on gas money, that type of stuff. But for me, it's really hard to work from home and ever stop working. And I just don't know if it's worth it at times. But I'm in a remote area, so basically any job, even if I went back to my career in marketing, I would probably get a remote job because I don't live near anything. So I would probably face that no matter what I do moving forward. And that's just something that like I said, I think it's important for me to schedule time to not work. So, and with hard to step away and working at home is also just the space it takes. I did get a storage shed, but I also, part of my guest room is my office. My loft is where I take photos and store shoes. My whole tough shed is where I store inventory. So takes up space, and I feel like it takes up a lot more time than just a normal job. It's a big challenge, and I think a lot of people get into it and don't realize how challenging that is to manage personally, at least the people I've talked to. All right, number 3, inconsistent sales. So again, if you're just doing this for fun, it's like a hobby or it's super part-time, you're not worried about making this paying bills with this money. Maybe it's like vacation money, or maybe it's money to save up for a fancy bag, or maybe you just sell to buy. You buy stuff, you wear it, and then you resell it. Whatever your case may be, the majority of people who are using this money to pay some sort of bill or all your bills, having inconsistent sales and inconsistent months is really hard. Because for me, I have a budget, and I would prefer in an ideal world that I could just kind of have the same budget each month. But I can't, because I know some months are going to be slower, and I know some months are going to be more. And it is hard to just go, oh, I'm making more this month, so I'm going to push it away for another month. No, you're paying off stuff. And I think the inconsistency is hard to manage for a lot of people. Now, some people out there love numbers, and they're really self-disciplined. And, maybe this isn't a big deal, the inconsistency of sales. But for, again, the majority of resellers I talk to, inconsistent sales affects their daily life. Maybe they're not eating out as much because they're not making as much. Maybe they are getting less hours at their regular job, and their sales with Poshmark or eBay or whatever platform isn't doing all that well, and it's becoming stressful. Inconsistent sales, I think, adds a lot of stress. Now, some people would say, well, you get what you put into it. Yes and no. I think that if you are disciplined and you work really hard and have good time management, you'll probably have some level of consistency, meaning you'll have sales most of the time, and you'll be shipping out like this. But it's just, it's never been that consistent for me. And I do miss having a consistent paycheck. Because then it's hard to budget. It's hard to plan. And I don't really use credit. I don't even have a credit card. And I do try to budget, and I do try to save, and I am saving for some stuff for my home, and I would like to go car camping, and all of this stuff that I'm factoring in. And it's just kind of a hit or miss thing with reselling. So it's an uncomfortable position. Many of us make it work, but it's definitely a big downside to reselling for a lot of us. So, all right, number 4, we have 33 more minutes on the work. Do we think I can get my shipping done by then? We will see. It's also, the sun is going to be coming down here. I need to go play with the dog outside. So I was going to try and film this. The lighting's getting a little weird. There's nothing new about this with my channel. So if you're new, welcome to Weird Lighting. That is what my house is, with a lot of windows. All right. Usually working with a lot of used items and clothing equals some gross factor. What I mean by that is, depending on where you source, no matter really where you source, I mean, unless you're getting it directly from someone and maybe you're doing consignment and you know that it came laundered from their closet, more than likely, even if you're at a thrift store, those thrift stores still get donations from who knows where. They still go probably in separation bins, and then they get hung up on hangers. But they're still coming from a giant pile of mess. Or you're shopping at the bins, and you're just legit shopping in the giant pile of mess. Maybe you're getting free stuff from people. Maybe you're a dumpster diver and you're getting free stuff from a dumpster and you're going to flip it. There's lots of different reselling out there. But the majority of people, when dealing with pre-owned anything, clothing, electronics, furniture, you are dealing with other people's stuff and you don't always know the origin. So it is honestly, as someone who lived in San Francisco and had bed bugs one time, and that was like the most traumatic experience of my life, I think about that stuff all the time. Like, what am I bringing in my house? I wipe this. What are those Lysol wipes called? I Lysol this spot all the time because I'm always doing my shipping here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, pre-owned clothing. You just don't know where it's coming from. Now, there's other things that people talk about. It's really not that big of a deal, but it does happen at times. It's not that many times as you would see on YouTube videos, because people do YouTube videos to emphasize these gross factors because they just want clicks. But like people who have seen gross things at thrift stores or bins or yard sales or, really any place, there are some pretty disgusting things. Like there's nothing worse than putting your hand in a bin and realizing the whole bin is wet. And you're like, or maybe even part of the bin is wet. And you're like, what is this wetness? What happened here? Is this rain outside? It hasn't rained in 3 months. Coming from California, and we rarely get rain most of the year. But, you know, it's like, why is this bin wet? Did someone decide to, I don't know. You just don't know. And you just don't know the smells. It can be gross. And again, many of us do it all the time. It's not really that big of a deal. I think you just kind of lose sight of it. But you have those moments, like people have apparently seen lots of bugs, and some people have seen like rodents. And I mean, again, you don't know how long this stuff is stored places. You don't know what's coming in bags. I mean, there are people who have found some crazy stuff in bins that maybe aren't gross, but are harmful. You know, like even if you're just digging in a hard goods bin and you put your hand in one and it's like potential glass, a lot of us wear, you know, safe gloves for that reason, but it's just, and I know some people, this is a comment I've gotten a lot of. Why don't I use gloves? Now I use gloves in hard good bins because there are sharps and I do want to protect myself, but I do not use gloves in clothing bins. And ours are pretty well divided, so it's not like, yeah, I mean, clothing bins typically, some of our bins don't even sell any hard goods, so it's just all clothing, but mostly. But, you know, I don't use gloves in clothing because there is a certain feel of certain things. Like I can feel a Barefoot Dreams a mile away. I can feel a silk blouse. I can feel a cashmere piece. And when you're going quickly through bins, or even not quickly, and you grab something and it feels luxurious and it feels amazing and it just has a certain feel that I think you get over time as a reseller, gloves take that away from you. And not to say people can't use gloves at bins with clothing. I don't knock people for doing what they're comfortable with, but I personally don't, because I do think it puts me at a disadvantage. And that's personal preference. And again, do I go out to my car and sit there and immediately leave a bin and start munching on potato chips? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But, you know, I mean, door handles at most public places are probably grosser than anyone's toilet at home. So, you know, it's like if we start going into the gross factor, it starts getting in your head and then you never want to leave your house. I can't live that way. So the bins, while there can be a gross moment or two, it's not that often for me. And you just learn to wash your hands a lot. I don't know any other way of describing it, but that's my personal preference. But it doesn't change the fact that there are those gross moments. And you are dealing with a whole bunch of pre-owned used stuff and you don't know where it came from. So that's appealing. Let's see. Number 5, I think we're on. Yeah. So this is something that I think a lot of people who say, and I've asked this question before, like, why do you like being a reseller? And a lot of people, or you'll hear people say, like, I like being a reseller because I don't have a boss. And every time I hear this, I'm like, I feel the opposite. There are terrible bosses out there. I think we've all had them. And we're all like, oh, it was so great to get away from that boss. They were terrible. They should never have been in management of any type. But bosses somewhat hold you accountable. And going into an office or having like hours that you have to work holds you accountable. And one of the biggest downsides for me is not having a boss, not having that accountability, not having, you know, the guidance even. Like, I don't know. There is something, and I mean, I managed a lot of people, and most of the time it was just me reporting to my bosses, like, hey, this is how my team is doing. This is what we're working on. This is how so-and-so is doing. This is, you know, more updating them, not really them dictating my schedule. But I still knew my boss was going to be there wanting an update every week type of thing. So it pushed me to show up and to get work done. And when you're a reseller on your own, self-employed, you just don't have that accountability. And it's just really, there are just so many days that I'm like, I just want to go back to where I don't have to find that motivation every day. And that motivation, it's brutal at times. I feel like I need to trim something. So we're gonna grab some scissors, a couple loose strings. So, you know, I get what people mean about not having a boss. They don't want a bad boss. but more than likely everyone's had a good boss who didn't micromanage you and, gave you adequate training and complimented you when you did things right and gave you new challenges. And I think most people have had a good boss. I miss having a good boss because it made me better. And it's not that I don't get stuff done now, but the last couple months have been really rough, and I have used that excuse to maybe not get up as early as I used to and not get as much listing done as I used to. And that's just in general, it's hard because it affects your sales, it affects your income coming in. And if I had a boss and a steady paycheck, it probably would have been less stress in an already stressful couple months. And so I miss having a boss. And if you've never had a good boss, I feel bad for you. There are really good bosses out there. And I know it's not everyone, but there are some really good ones out there. All right, number 6. So I wrote down, always jealous of what other people are finding or selling. So I guess this falls into reselling sucks because you're always comparing yourself to other people. And I think, I understand why people watch videos of people on YouTube of what they're selling or finding or, have experience or what their thoughts are. But what that typically leads to often is just a comparison game. And, they're over there finding Gucci, but then that same day you found some Tory Burch that might sell for $50 and their Gucci might only sell for $100. You both actually had some decent finds, but you're more focused on what they found rather than, hey, you found something good today, or whatever. I don't know why I use Tory Burch because that's a hit or miss brand, but some of it can sell well. So anyways, I think that it's so excruciatingly painful to hear people talk about other resellers or, oh, you had such a good thrift day. I've had such a bad thrift month. And it's like, I feel bad because we all have bad thrift months. We all have bad thrift days. We all have bad thrift weeks. And if you're watching people on Instagram and they're flashing these like picture perfect package piles and picture perfect cart piles of all these designers that you've never found, it just leads to constant disappointment in what you find rather than shutting that all down and going, I'm excited for them, but look at this stuff I found, or I'm happy with what I found, or this was decent. It wasn't my best day. It wasn't my worst day, but I'm okay with this day. There's just something very toxic about the comparison. And I know a lot of people say comparison is the thief of joy, or what is the expression? Anyways, I recently heard someone say that comparison is just a natural human instinct. And it's not that you should avoid it. It's that you should recognize when you're doing it and how long you sit in that moment. You can tell I do a lot of yoga and I listen to a lot of yoga people, spiritual people, because being present in the moment and not focusing on the past or the future, or in this case, focusing on other people in the present, it can lead to very toxic behaviors. And I think it's definitely, I've never had this happen in any other career because most of the time I'm the only one with my job. I hold this title, I have this team, I'm responsible for this. No one else is quite doing the same thing as me. Whereas with reselling, we're all doing similar things. We're finding stuff for cheap or free or whatever, and we're selling it for a profit. And I just think there's a lot of disappointment when people start focusing too much on what other people are finding and not just being happy with what they have access to. So that jealousy, that toxicity is a big downside of reselling. And yeah, it sucks. It sucks for everyone. And we're all guilty of it to a degree. So I don't hold myself as like, oh, I'm better. I think we all struggle with it. But at the moment, I'm just trying to figure out, okay, I'm realizing I'm feeling this comparison moment, or I'm feeling this jealousy or this envy or something. I don't need to sit here. Let's move on. I can't control them. I can just control, what I'm finding. And it just means go out and find more, or work harder at home, or, try something different that other people aren't doing, that type of stuff. But yeah. All right. What else is on here? Number 7, customer service can ultimately just flat out suck. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I used to manage coffee shops when I was in college, and whew, man, you are dealing with people who are waking up at 4 something in the morning, and the first person they talk to is some person at a coffee shop, and they're cranky. They didn't get enough sleep. They had a bad week. They take it out on some, minimum wage person probably, who's also had to wake up very early and probably didn't get enough sleep. Customer service, no matter what, is hard. And part of reselling, unless you have a different strategy, unless you're not selling B2C, maybe you're doing B2B. So maybe you're doing like wholesale lots and you're buying stuff at the bins and you're just selling to other resellers or something like that. Unless you have that model, but even then, your customers are then just other businesses. So yeah, it is just hard. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times I get messages for, I mean, at this point, if it's a message asking me for something that I didn't provide in the listing, there's a 95% chance I'm just not going to respond, because I'm not going to go grab the item. It's going to take me a good 10 minutes to go look up the item, grab it from my inventory, do whatever measurement, then take that item, put it back in inventory, send them a message response. All of that takes time. And for what? And I know there's a lot of people out there. This is definitely a hot button topic, which I feel like I could do a whole video on, but we'll just leave it here. Replying to people on messages. It's like, yeah, in an ideal world, we would have all the time in the world to respond to everyone, and we would have all the information. But at the end of the day, for me personally, I sit there and go, look, I provide basic measurements, and I understand, like, one of the common things is like a hip measurement. Someone says, oh, I really need a hip measurement. That's not something I do. And honestly, I feel like it's so inconsistent that I don't even know if I would trust my hip measurement. So someone will ask for that. And I understand that we all have different body shapes and we have struggles in different areas. Like, I have a huge problem wearing button front shirts, to the point where I won't buy a button front shirt unless it's in a fitting room and I'm like just trying it on and I can I almost, even then they just gape open. It's such a hard thing for me. So I understand that we all have those things that are hard, but those are typically not the things that I would order online for that reason. And I'm not saying people shouldn't ask for the measurements. It's just, as someone, as a reseller, dealing with a whole bunch of customers asking for different things, half the time they're asking questions that are already in the listing, and they don't actually read the listing, or they don't look at the listing, and they just get in habit. Like, it's just, one of the most common questions I get on Poshmark, I almost never get it on eBay, but it's like multiple times a week I'll get it on Poshmark, is any stains, flaws, or signs of wear. I think that's like the exact thing that most people say. And I get why people ask it, because they've been burned before, because but then it's like, I just don't even answer that, because I put in the condition in the description. Also, I'm so glad this dress sold. I had 2 really fun sales. All of them are just kind of basic. I think I have like 22 things going out from the weekend. So, yeah. But there were 2 sales that were over 100, I think. Now I'm dropping things. Yeah, so this is we're getting sidetracked, but we have the time. This is a dress, and the tag, what does it say right there? Why does that look different than what I put? It's 45 RPM is the brand. And they make these dresses. Okay, I'll show you, even though I just folded it. They make these dresses that are kind of oversized. It's a Japanese brand. It's a indigo denim. It's got this very subtle embroidery, and wow, I'm doing a really, really great job, but I am farther from the camera, so I don't know if you can see the embroidery. But anyways, some of these dresses, I couldn't find any comp, and I listed this over 2 years ago, maybe close to 3 years ago, and there were no comps. I found that they were selling retail for like around 1,000, a lot of them, I think. Again, it's been a while since I've listed this and done any research, but anyways, I decided to start high because if you don't have any comps to base anything off of, and if it's kind of a rare item, you're like, okay, great. I'll list it, high and see what kind of offers come in, see what kind of interest, how many watchers. Anyways, it has taken this long. It finally sold for $250. And was it $250? I can't remember. Let's see. I've got the print labels and ship. This is sold for $200. So I originally started it like almost 3 years ago at $4.99. And then, I've got a markdown system on eBay specifically where after, a year, after 2 years, like things will get marked down. And I still send out offers. Anyways, I finally got an offer on this and I'm like, this has been sitting for almost 3 years. It's a $200 offer. Yes, I will be taking this. So anyways, I'm very glad to see this go. I don't know if I can find a stock photo to insert that in, but if I can, it's 4.5 RPM. And I was excited to find it because I love finding new brands, but sometimes the really unusual brands are hard to price. And needless to say, I probably could have sold this a long time ago if I hadn't aimed too high, but you live and you learn. I don't really know what I would have done differently. I do wonder if there's any comps now versus back then, and if I would have done something different, but I just don't spend time on my old stuff. So what was I talking about? Oh, the other sale that is over $100 today. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it because it is pretty tiny and it's also in plastic. I do not know how to pronounce this. Can you see? There's probably glare. So it's Ann, A-N-N, Demulmeister. Ooh, that is a fun name. Anyways, it's a button front shirt, but it has this flap that like buttons up. Anyways, it had 19 watchers on eBay. 19. I got a couple lowball offers. It finally sold for $111. So I was thrilled about that. Especially because it's kind of an olive. It's kind of a basic. It is a very unusual designer. So it clearly has a following. But yeah, I was thrilled. I didn't even get an offer. I had marked it down to 111 at some point because it's been sitting for probably a year, maybe somewhere around there. And so it had gotten marked down a little bit, but another one where I couldn't find the exact style and I decided to aim high, but what are you going to do? Anyways, we are back. Customer service. Messages. I know some people say, oh, you have to keep things busy and all these platforms like activity and don't decline offers and always reply to messages and all of this stuff. And it's like, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Do what you're comfortable with. For me, going and pulling an item to find a measurement for something that I already provided measurements for, I just provide the basics. That time is not worth it considering the majority of the time they won't buy it and I'll get asked for an arm length measurement the next time. And it kind of never stops. So yeah, customer service though. It really is not fun at times. Now there are some really amazing customers. Like there are times where maybe something comes damaged or there's a delay with shipping and they're really understanding or you can't find an item. There are a lot of great customers and buyers, but let's get real. We don't remember them as often. We remember the ones, oh man, there was this one woman. I don't know if I've told this story here, but we're going to say it just in case I haven't because it still haunts me. I'm a pretty coherent, intelligent person, I think. And this woman got to the point where she was using it wasn't profanities, but it was like every negative word to say, you are the dumbest seller I have ever encountered in my entire life. People like you are the scum of the earth. You're the reason why this world, like she was going crazy on me. And all of this stemmed from, she was a Canadian buyer. She wanted to buy something, I can't remember what it was. It was like I ended up selling it to someone else for good money. So it was a higher dollar item. I can't remember how high, but probably like between $50 and $100. Oh, it was this Elemente Clemente, which is part of the brand Oscar, I believe. I think it's part of the Oscar brand. Anyways, it had buttons all the way down the front and all the way down the back. And she wanted to buy it. She was in Canada. If you buy something internationally from me, it goes through global shipping program on eBay. Super easy for me. It's a little pricey for buyers, but if they really want it, they'll pay. And it's easy. I don't deal with the shipping. I just ship to Kentucky, I think. And then eBay takes it and they ship it off for me. So she wanted me to write on the package. She was asking questions about customs. And I'm like, I use global shipping program. So I don't know about customs, but you can contact eBay if you have questions regarding international shipping through global shipping program. And she took that as like, she's just going to keep asking me the question in different ways until I break, because that's kind of what happened. And I just kept repeating, I can't help you with this. And because I don't actually do the international shipping. I create a label to a US facility, eBay, or eBay's partner, and they then take it over. And it's not on me at that point. So then she got to the point where she said, well, can you at least write on the package? She wanted me to write something specific for customs, which is like pre-owned clothing, not brand new, something on there. Could I have? Yes. But would that have been fair of me to do that when I know that they just they repackage stuff? From my understanding, eBay packages things again when they ship them. Not eBay, eBay's partner, global shipping program. My understanding is that they will take your item and they will actually repackage it to ship internationally. Do I know this for a fact? No, but I've been told this at eBay Open in a panel with resellers who said that that's what happened. So I felt like that was okay. If I write something on the outside of this package and then eBay gets it and then they repackage it and it's not written on the outside of this package, this woman's going to be upset with me, right? So I respond back to her and I said, exactly that. I explained it in as nice of a way as possible. And at this point, again, I'm just frustrated by the 12 million questions. And she comes back and she just goes on this huge rant to the point that I sent her to, I called eBay and I said, I was just harassed. I was just like verbally abused. I'm not a dumb person. I'm actually a good seller. And if anything, I was actually trying to help her, but she's like, you're moronic. I've bought so many things from US sellers and every single person will ship it to me directly. And you are just a moron. Like she just went off. And while we all get negative comments, especially here on YouTube at times, we all get negative comments. Most of the time they just roll off. You're like, this is just part of the job. This person has some issues of their own. I don't know who sends hate comments or hate messages on the internet. That's just not my style. But clearly she's got some issues. But it was just one of those times where I'm like, how dare she accuse me of being a moron? Because I'm not. She's not listening. And I don't know what kind of buyer. I'm not going to call her any names, but she was not my best buyer. Moral of the story, customer service is really, really crappy at times, especially if you had a job in an office where you basically didn't have to deal with customers any longer. And then you go back to customer service. But I do try. I do struggle with answering a bajillion questions. And I do struggle with buyers like that just are evil and mean. And it's like, then don't buy from me, please. But all right, what else? So number 8. Do you want to say hi, Boo? Are you yawning? I know, we're going to go outside in a little bit and play. Right? And then you can go chase some rabbits or something. Is that what you're going to do? She's been catching gophers recently, which I'm okay about because rodents attack everything, like my car wires, my garden tractor wires, and they create holes and then you step in them and you sprain ankles. It's just not gophers. All rodents are just, they're terrible. Anyways, shopping equals hoarding. So one of the worst things about reselling is because you can flip things online. Boo, I know I can't pet you right now because I'm lint rolling and I don't want to get your hair on this item. I know you're going to give me the puppy dog, guys. So I can't tell you how many times I'm like, oh, I can sell that. Or, oh, this hasn't sold, but I can relist it. It's like, it's honestly the worst thing in the world because we just never feel, a lot of us never feel like giving up something because we feel like there's a price or there's a dollar amount on everything. And that can ultimately lead to hoarding. And it's just not, it's not good. It's not good for me. I have to consciously remind myself that like once a month I need to take a bag to the thrift store. And, oh, I haven't listed this in 6 months. Am I ever going to list it? No, I'm not. So just redonate it. Or it was free, donate it. You don't have to list everything. And that's a really hard thing as a reseller for most of us, I think. All right, number 9. Honey hole is taken. And what I mean by this is I can't tell you how many times I've found a store and I've gone there 5 times. And every time I go there, I'm like, oh yes, this is my new honey hole. Every time I go there, I can find gems. It seems like no resellers shopping there. I'm always finding good stuff. And then bam, one day you start going there, or you keep going there, and one day it turns into nothing. You can't find one thing. And then you go back and you're like, okay, that was just a bad day. And then you go back a few weeks later and you're like, I'm going back to my honey hole. It's going to be great this time. And then again, nothing. This has happened so many times where I almost can guarantee that a honey hole will only be good for me for about a year. And then someone else will learn about it or start going there. And yeah, it's like no longer a honey hole. It's no longer a good spot. And I think partly that is due to, people coming and going with reselling, or people being in a different area. Maybe they're traveling and they, stumble across a place, whatever the reason. But it is frustrating because it does feel like I don't have consistent places to source all the time. And that is definitely a hard aspect of reselling. And then number 10, taxes are a nightmare. So up until, moving forward, I will need to find an accountant. My dad used to be my accountant. He was a retired CPA, and even though he didn't do small business taxes, he knew enough that he could do our taxes. And when you're self-employed, they just get very complicated. And especially when you start, I had reselling, 2 different platforms. I have YouTube. I'm incorporating real estate. Not that I'm making anything there. I'll get to that at the end of the video. I guess that's in a couple minutes. But I'm spending money on real estate, and it's just very complex. So a lot of people ask about taxes all the time on this channel. And there's a lot of bad advice out there. There's a lot of bad information spread by people who aren't tax professionals and really are just speaking from experience. But everyone's experience and state and area are different. So taxes, if you have one job, Monday through Friday, one employer, they take out your stuff, your taxes, they pay it to the government, and then you just have to file your taxes once per year. While there can be complications due to houses and divorces and marriages and that kind of stuff, the majority of people have a fairly simplistic taxes. At least I did. And when you become self-employed, it's the opposite. There's so much tracking. I have to track everything I do. Everything. It's like nonstop. And if you don't track it, then you don't get certain write-offs. Like if I don't track all my mileage, then I can't write off all my mileage. And guesstimating isn't good. And it's just, oh my gosh, tax time is just tragic. And even all throughout the year, stressing about taxes, prepaying taxes. That's something that I'm getting better at is I want to send money to the IRS ongoing so that I don't get hit with a big bill every tax season. It's just, honestly, it kind of goes back to benefits. That is kind of a benefit of working, for a corporate job, is that more than likely someone's kind of doing a lot of that for you. And then they just send you one document in January and then you give that to your CPA and then they do your taxes, or you do your own. Like I have friends who do their own taxes because they have fairly simple taxes. But man, when you're self-employed, I have so much credit for people who have the patience for it, who enjoy it. I don't enjoy anything about taxes. I took one accounting class in college and I called my dad and I said, this is the worst thing ever. How do you do this for a living? And I was serious. I was 18 at the time and my first college was in Boston and I thought I was going to get a business degree, and I changed many times until I found the degree for me. But I had to take this accounting class and it was the worst experience of my life. I'm sure if I had some patience nowadays, I could probably figure out something around it, but I will need to find a new accountant. And that is like the most frightening thing, because I've had to worry about tax stuff because I still have to get stuff to my dad, or did, but I've never had to worry about paying someone for it. Sorry, Dad. I never paid you for your time. But so those are my 10 main reasons. There are a couple others. One would be bad buys, wasted money. That's really hard pill to swallow, that's just kind of part of learning. And on that note, the learning curve, learning brands, learning what sells, all of that kind of stuff can be very time consuming and hard. And, those are some other components to consider if you think reselling, especially full time, is the best thing. So on that note, the timer's about to go off. Yep. So we're going to go outside, play with the dog, and I'm going to talk to you about non-reselling because I need a break from that. So let's go. Okay, fun fact. There's a new full moon coming. What day is it? 14th or something around there? I'll put on the screen when it is. And it is it's a full solar eclipse, I think. So if you Google it, you can see the times in your area that you'll be able to see it. But it's called the blood moon, and it's also called, is it the flower moon? Oh man, I really should have looked this up. Anyways, I really love the moon. Anyone who knows me, especially moving here. When I moved here, being able to see the stars, like when it's a no moon kind of night, you get to see a lot of stars. When it's a moon, it brightens everything. Like you can walk outside on a full moon with we have no lighting here, and you can see where you're going, and it's just pretty incredible. So I love the moon, and it's right there. It looks like it's about a half right now. So I think it's probably 7 days from now, and I don't even know the date today. My neighbors just got home, and they've got 2 adorable labs, and Luna will sometimes sit out here, and she will kind of sing to them, like to try and get their attention. And she'll kind of like howl, even though she's not a howling dog, but it's so embarrassing. She does it more and more every day, and she just wants them to, I think she wants them to come play, but she has a hard time with new dogs, so I don't let her get near them, but she still likes to sing to them. Anyways, what's going on with life? It has just been really, really busy. Today I got 2 new real estate calls from 2 new buyers that found me on YouTube. My last 2 videos on my real estate channel have kind of done well. And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why it's getting picked up in the algorithm, but clearly people are finding them that are actually looking at the area. It's not like spammers or anything like that. So I'm really excited about that. I wrote 2 home offers for a guy, and I think he's no longer looking here. But it was really great practice, and I did get to show him homes, and I finally got to meet him. And at this point, I'm just thankful that people are finding me, because I had a vision with the YouTube channel that if I made some content and people could find me, that it's kind of an avenue that no one here really has, because a lot of people don't know how to do YouTube or don't like being on video. And so yeah, it's just been a whirlwind. I think I signed up for my first classes, real estate classes, in July of last year, I think, but I didn't start until August or something. I can't remember. No, I started like late July last year. And then I got my actual, passed my state exam late November. So that was just the studying, getting the test taken and getting the license. And then you have to find a brokerage and you do all of that. So really it's only been since the beginning of the year, really, that I've actually been I think my first videos were like mid-December, my first video. But it's, it takes time. And it also, I didn't really invest too much time because I wasn't really seeing much come back at me. But because I'm starting to get calls, like I've gotten quite a few calls from people, and a couple people actually who watch this channel who are maybe thinking about relocating here, but a lot of people who don't know anything about me and don't know anything about my reselling, and I don't link that. Anyways, it's just good to see that my vision is working. So that's great. But even when I have an offer accepted, it's still going to be 30 to 45 days escrow, and things can go wrong. And so as far as like getting paid, there's the investment cost that I put into it that I would like to pay myself back for. And then I would like to pretty much use a lot of the money to pay taxes and to put towards savings for being self-employed, being a homeowner, saving for projects around the home.
Yeah, so it's not hard on me. I really am enjoying the process because it gets me out of my house. I'm talking to new people. I feel like it's actually picking up, but it still is a lot of work with no return yet, and that's hard. I mean, with reselling, you can in a sense start listing stuff, and within your first week probably have a first sale. And I know that's pennies. I mean, real estate sales, you're talking commissions of thousands and thousands. Even on the low end here, like if I sold one of the cheapest houses here, it'd still easily be $4,000 to $5,000 in commission, and some of them are way more than that. So it's a much bigger payout, but there's a lot of time that goes into it, and it's not just the time for one individual person. It's the time with a whole bunch of people that don't end up working out. And it's different for me. I've always had jobs where there's incentives from sales perspective of hitting certain targets, like bonuses, but you still get your paycheck. Like you're still getting paid for the work that you're putting into it. I've never been on something 100% commission, and it's crazy how much work goes into it. But I did just film one of the coolest houses I think that I've filmed so far. And I don't want to spoil it here, but it will be out later this week. Hopefully Wednesday or Thursday of this week. Hi, dog. Do you need to say hi? I know I'm going to go over there and play with you. I'm sorry. I just have to finish this. And you don't understand? I know. I brought the tripod out. Do you want to come back here and say hi? Can you say hi to your friends? Okay. Or you can sit over there grumpy. Can you see her tail? You don't want to sit by me? I know. Usually when I'm out here, I'm playing with you. But it's got to wait. Anyways. So this house, so I've been having a hard time with real estate agents here, replying to me, acknowledging my existence when I ask to film their homes. And partly it's because a lot of the homes are selling quickly up here. And so they don't need free marketing. So you can't really use that like it's just free marketing. So there's no incentive for them. Plus they don't know me because I'm new. Like I don't go out in Tehachapi. I don't know people here. I live at home, and if I go out, it's usually in LA. And so they and they can see me online. I'm sure some of them have already seen my channels. I'm sure there's like that small town chatter, but they're probably just like, who is this girl? Who does she think she is? It's like coming in here with like decent YouTube views. And I think there's competition. It's, we're all trying to get sellers and buyers and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't think I'm really competition. I'm just trying to put out content that's searchable from people out of the area that can't find it, because I had a hard time with that here when I moved here. So anyways, I've been having a hard time filming houses because I need to get approval from the agents and the homeowners, which would come through the agents, and they just don't respond to me. And so there's some really cool houses that I would love to feature on my homes channel, but I can't do it without permission. And so I'm trying the best I can. There's been a couple houses that I filmed because I got permission. Maybe it was from a coworker, but maybe it wasn't like the most ideal. I really like the unique, unusual homes. And so I understand that not everyone wants to buy that, but I think from a click-worthy standpoint, that's important to have something unique. And so anyways, I saw this home, really unique, not terribly priced, but definitely needs the right buyer. And it was listed for sale by owner. Well, as an agent, the downsides to that. Now, plenty of people can sell their home on their own without a real estate agent. But a lot of people don't know how, and they get frustrated because it won't sell, and they don't have access to MLS, which is where we list our services. So other agents can't easily find it. Anyways, it's this whole thing. So I thought, well, this homeowner, she's had it listed for a while. It's a really unique house. I can't really see everything in the pictures. I think this would be an amazing house to film for video. And what do I have to lose? Just contact the homeowner. She's selling it. So anyways, I contacted her. And fortunately, she responded back and she said, absolutely, please come film my house. And sure enough, she's the most endearing person. She's basically me in 30 years. She moved here 30 years ago at my age. And she has this really unique home and loves it, but she's getting older. I think it doesn't matter. She's getting older, and she already bought a house in a south in a desert area, and she's ready to go. But she loves this house. She's put so much into it and lived there for so long. And anyway, so I just went and filmed that today, and I'm going to get her the link in the next day or two. But she asked, she said, does this mean I have to list with you? And I said, no. I said, you're helping me provide, show homes in this fun area. And I love this home. And if I was looking, I would want to buy this home because I love it that much. But I said, no, like I would love to find you a buyer, and I would love to get it out there in searchable territory of YouTube, because a lot of agents here, they just sell to people here. And while there are people who like quirky homes here, there are a lot of people who just want the typical kind of 3-bed, 2-bath, traditional single story, because that's what's convenient for them. So to find the right buyer for this unique house probably has to be someone that's coming from LA or a city, more than likely. It could be, yeah. So anyways, I went there and I filmed that today. And then while I was doing that, I got 2 calls from new potential buyers. One is already pre-approved and wants to come up this weekend. The other one still needs to get pre-approved. It's this whole thing, and it's so much fun. I could bore you to death. I could talk about this for a bajillion years, but so the upside is it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy all the elements of it, because it's part sales, but it's also just part being human. Like, I very vividly remember being a homeowner, and I don't like cheesy, salesy people. So just be human, just be real with people. Like, one of the people that called today was asking about the water supply here with the area, and fire insurance, and is there high-speed internet? Really valid questions. And it's like, I know these answers because I've lived here. And yeah, so, and they're excited about it. They're excited. These people are excited to change their life, and I know that excitement. So there's so much good about it. But right now it's really hard to juggle this intense addition to my already crazy work schedule. So I'm just trying to juggle it. But the good news is that it's given me a purpose to wake up in the morning and get a little excited by something new. And like I said, I don't want to get burnt out on reselling. So it's just nice to add something in that's going to complement it, so that I can still do reselling, but maybe in a year it won't be to pay as many bills. It will just be more for fun. So, and I won't go to real estate full time. I don't want anything to be full time. I just want to be able to have some fun doing a few things that I enjoy: YouTube, reselling, and real estate, and pay my bills at the same time. So that's reselling. I was supposed to go camping with 2 different friends, and I just haven't found the time. Partly because of this real estate stuff. Like this weekend, I was thinking it would be a good time to go out of town for a night or 2, just to take a break. And then these people called me and I said, can you meet this Saturday or Sunday? And I'm like, absolutely. But then that just pushes potential camping. So my camping channel, I do have 2 videos filmed and partially edited, but I just haven't had the time to just sit down and fully edit them. I do have 1 video on my second channel, the car camping channel, that kind of took off a little bit recently, and I've been getting some really hate comments. Like, just people who just, it's this video where I had this kind of creepy man at a nearby campsite, and there's no cell service. It's just him. He was missing teeth. He's got no shirt on, a pot belly. Like, just an image that, like, I think on a normal day, just walking on the street, you'd probably cross the street, and you're out in the middle of nowhere, no other campsites anywhere near. And I was creeped out. And so I did this video. It was a camping vlog, and I talked about it, and it's gotten picked up recently where more and more people are watching it. It's like almost a year old. It's like 9 or 10 months old. And so people are like, it's people like you, there are friendly campers out there that just want to talk to people. Because that's the thing. He was asking me like, oh, where are you from? He's making this conversation, but it wasn't in the like friendly camper way. It was in the, can you go put a shirt on, and you're creeping me out, and you're asking me a whole bunch of personal questions. Again, I camp all the time by myself and my dog. Like, I'm not really that scared of a lot of situations. I've traveled alone internationally by myself. I'm not easily scared. But when you get that feeling in your gut that like, this just doesn't feel safe or right, you just go with it. You just have to. Sometimes it's just better safe than sorry. So anyways, I did that video, and just some people are so offended. They're like, I'm a guy and I like to make a conversation with people, and it's people like you in the camping world that make this a terrible space. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyways, moral of the story. That video is kind of contributing some ad revenue there. I don't get much on that channel. It's just more for fun. But I haven't put something up in over a month, and I have these 2 videos, and I could put them up. I just need to finish editing, but then I don't have the time to edit. So moral of the story, I have 2 different people I would like to go camping with soon. I just need to make some time for it. And that is just really hard to do right now. But I'm not beating myself up over it. It has been a challenging couple months juggling family time and reselling, and real estate's been picking up, and yeah, so no complaints here. But the dog, are you ready to play? She's ready to play. So let's go play with the dog for a second. And by a second, I mean, I've got to play with her for a long time. You can play with her for a second.